Terry Taylor, the finishing trainer here at the WWE Performance Center, working with the up-and-coming superstars and divas you see on NXT and then hopefully on Raw and SmackDown and pay-per-views. So Terry, what are your thoughts of this unbelievable WWE Performance Center?
This is a Starship Enterprise. I mean, it's the latest, greatest. It's as good as any training facility of any sport in the world. I mean, the New York Giants look at this place and they go, oh, you know, it's equal to what they have. Every tool that a talent needs, from interviews to character development to watching themselves do an interview into a camera and watching it back instantly with instant feedback, which is invaluable, to 7 rings with 7 different trainers that allows them every aspect of the business, from Matt Bloom, who was Tensai, from a huge guy, to Norman Smiley, who's a technical guy or a screamer, depending on what part of his career you want to remember, to Nick Dinsmore, who did Eugene. I mean, Billy Gunn, one of the best big men athletes that could get up and down. Bill DeMott, who's done it all. I mean, Sarah Amato, who's broken ground as the first female trainer in this spot ever. And you have all these different coaches. And then we have Matt Witzlinski, who is a Joe DeFranco disciple. That's one of the greatest trainers in the world in physical conditioning and strength and conditioning. So every tool that a talent needs to succeed here is here.
Terry, how does it compare to when Terry Taylor first started training, where and when he trained?
This is going to be one of the most ironic things you'll ever hear. I never had a lesson. My first match was on television by an act of God. I mean,
Terry, that's amazing. That's incredible.
35 years ago, Eddie Graham said, and there's a long, involved story about how I got there, but I was visiting a friend that was in the business, and he said, come to watch how we do TV in Tampa at the Sportatorium. So I go, and I'm standing there watching all these legends and these heroes and these larger-than-life gods to me as a kid. Dusty Rhodes, Jack Briscoe, Terry Funk, Pat Patterson, Pac Song, you know, Bad Leroy Brown, all these guys, Bugsy McGraw, they're in this room with me. And they're just going about their business like ordinary people. And I'm watching this because I watched wrestling and I was such a fan. And they're sitting there, and Eddie, I get a tap on the shoulder, and the guy goes, you got your stuff, kid? I turn around, and it's Eddie Graham. He owns the company. He's the mastermind of the psychology that was Dusty Rhodes' mentor, Bill Watts, and known as two of the greatest minds in wrestling. So Eddie's their mentor, and he says, you got your stuff, kid? I'm getting ready to say no, and my friend's up and down, jumping behind him going, yeah. So I borrowed a pair of boots and tights, and was wrestling an hour later against Bugsy McGraw for 3 minutes. And I thought they would run me out of there going, don't ever come back. They paid me $275 cash and said, will you come back next week? How they didn't know I didn't belong is a miracle, and sometimes I still wonder to this day, 35 years later.
It was meant to be.
Amen, brother.
What's it like when this whole team here, this dream team, is working with talent, and then all of a sudden you see a Bray Wyatt, Shield members, Adam Rose, Paige, etc., all these talents, Emma, make it from here onto the big shows, on Raw, SmackDown, the pay-per-views, and all. How much validation does it give here when things like that are happening?
The first half of most of our careers is about success, about us, making our legacy, getting our run, making our money, creating whatever the history is that sees us. The second half is about significance. How do you give back? How do you honor the gift? How do you pay back what's been given you? And if those kids being on television, those kids being on SmackDown and Raw making the business better, if they're out there doing that, there's no greater gratitude or validation or whatever. It isn't about us getting the response anymore. It's about seeing people that we care about in a business we care about working together, making the business better. If we feel good about it, imagine how Triple H feels when this is his vision. He puts all this in place to keep the business he loves alive, and that fresh talent, new blood, has always been what keeps the business alive.